Serene for kids.
Salam Alaikum, dear Serene for Kids family. As part of our special Ramadan program, we are excited to share the English translation of one juz section of the Holy Quran every day throughout this blessed month. Today is the 18th day of Ramadan, and we continue with juz 18. This juz starts from Surah Al-Mu'minun, which means the believers, chapter 23, verse 1, and ends at Surah Al-Furqan, which means the criterion, chapter 25, verse 20. This juz contains powerful reminders about faith, the signs of Allah, and the qualities of true believers. Surah Al-Mu'minun describes the characteristics of true believers who are successful in both this life and the hereafter. It reminds us of the importance of prayer, humility, honesty, and avoiding sins. Surah An-Nur, which means the light, focuses on modesty, morality, and the importance of truthfulness. It also includes the beautiful Ayah of Light, 24:35, where Allah describes His guidance as a shining light in the hearts of believers. Surah Al-Furqan highlights the difference between truth and falsehood, explaining that the Quran is a criterion that guides humanity. It describes the qualities of Ibad-ur-Rahman, the servants of the Most Merciful, who are humble, patient, and always turn to Allah. This juz teaches us that true success comes from faith, good deeds, and following Allah's guidance. It reminds us to stay on the right path, seek Allah's mercy, and strive to be among the righteous. Stay with us every day as we journey through the Holy Quran together. In the name of Allah, the Most Gracious, the Most Merciful. Surah Al-Mu'minun, chapter 23. Verse 1 to 1 to 18 verse. 1. Certainly will the believers have succeeded. Verse 2. They who are during their prayer humbly submissive. Verse 3. And they who turn away from ill speech. Verse 4. And they who are observant of zakah. Verse 5. And they who guard their private parts. Verse 6. Except from their spouses or those their right hands possess, for indeed they are not to be blamed. Verse 7. But whoever seeks beyond that, then those are the transgressors. Verse 8. And they who are to their trusts and their promises attentive. Verse 9. And they who carefully maintain their prayers. Verse 10. Those are the inheritors. Verse 11. Who will inherit Al-Firdaus. They will abide therein eternally. Verse 12. And certainly did we create man from an extract of clay. Verse 13. Then we placed him as a sperm drop in a firm lodging. Verse 14. Then we made the sperm drop into a clinging clot, and we made the clot into a lump of flesh, and we made from the lump bones, and we clothed the bones with flesh. Then we developed him into another creation. So blessed is Allah, the best of creators. Verse 15. Then indeed, after that you are to die. Verse 16. Then indeed on the day of resurrection you will be resurrected. Verse 17. And we have created above you 7 layered heavens, and never have we been of our creation unaware. Verse 18. And we have sent down rain from the sky in a measured amount, and settled it in the earth. And indeed, we are able to take it away. Verse 19. And we brought forth for you thereby gardens of palm trees and grapevines, in which for you are abundant fruits, and from which you eat. Verse 20. And we brought forth a tree issuing from Mount Sinai, which produces oil and food for those who eat. Verse 21. And indeed for you in livestock is a lesson. We give you drink from what is in their bellies, and for you in them are numerous benefits, and from them you eat. Verse 22. And upon them and upon ships you are carried. Verse 23. And we had certainly sent Noah to his people, and he said, O my people, worship Allah. You have no deity other than Him. Then will you not fear Him? Verse 24. But the eminent among those who disbelieved from his people said, This is not but a man like yourselves who wishes to take precedence over you, and if Allah had willed to send a messenger, He would have sent down angels. We have not heard of this among our forefathers. Verse 25. He is not but a man possessed with madness, so wait concerning him for a time. Verse 26. Noah said, My Lord, support me because they have denied me. Verse 27. So we inspired to him, Construct the ship under our observation and our inspiration, and do not address me concerning those who have wronged. Indeed, they are to be drowned. Verse 28, and he constructed the ship, and whenever an assembly of eminent people among his people passed by him, they ridiculed him. He said, if you ridicule us, then we will ridicule you just as you ridicule. Verse 29, and you are going to know who will get a punishment that will disgrace him on earth, and upon whom will descend an enduring punishment in the hereafter. Verse 30, so it was, until when our command came and the oven gushed forth water, we said, load upon it of each creature 2 mates and your family, except those about whom the word has proceeded, and those who have believed. But none had believed with him, except a few. Verse 31, and Noah said, embark therein, in the name of Allah is its course and its anchorage. Indeed, my Lord is forgiving and merciful. Verse 32, and it sailed with them through waves like mountains, and Noah called to his son who was apart from them, O my son, come aboard with us and be not with the disbelievers. Verse 33, but he said, I will take refuge on a mountain to protect me from the water. Noah said, there is no protector today from the decree of Allah except for whom he gives mercy. And the waves came between them, and he was among the drowned. Verse 34, and it was said, O earth, swallow your water, and O sky, withhold your rain. And the water subsided, and the matter was accomplished, and the ship came to rest on the mountain of Judah. And it was said, away with the wrongdoing people. Verse 35, and Noah called to his Lord and said, my Lord, indeed my son is of my family, and indeed your promise is true, and you are the most just of judges. Verse 36, he said, O Noah, indeed he is not of your family, indeed he is one whose work was other than righteous. So ask me not for that about which you have no knowledge. Indeed, I advise you, lest you be among the ignorant. Verse 37, Noah said, my Lord, I seek refuge in you from asking that of which I have no knowledge, and unless you forgive me and have mercy upon me, I will be among the losers. Verse 38, it was said, O Noah, disembark in security from us, and blessings upon you and upon nations, descending from those with you. But other nations of them we will grant enjoyment, then there will touch them from us a painful punishment. Verse 39, that is from the news of the unseen which we reveal to you, O Muhammad. You knew it not, neither you nor your people before this. So be patient. Indeed, the best outcome is for the righteous. Verse 40, and to Ad we sent there a brotherhood. He said, O my people, worship Allah. You have no deity other than him. Then will you not fear him? Verse 41, the eminent among those who disbelieved from his people said, indeed, we see you in foolishness, and indeed, we think you are of the liars. Verse 42, he said, O my people, there is not foolishness in me, but I am a messenger from the Lord of the worlds. Verse 43, I convey to you the messages of my Lord, and I am to you a trustworthy advisor. Verse 44, then do you wonder that there has come to you a reminder from your Lord through a man from among you, that he may warn you? And remember when he made you successors after the people of Noah and increased you in stature extensively. So remember the favors of Allah that you might succeed. Verse 45, they said, have you come to us that we should worship Allah alone and leave what our fathers have worshipped? Then bring us what you promise us, if you should be of the truthful. Verse 46, he said, already have defilement and anger fallen upon you from your Lord. Do you dispute with me concerning mere names you have named them, you and your fathers, for which Allah has not sent down any authority? Then wait. Indeed, I am with you among those who wait. Verse 47, so we saved him and those with him by mercy from us, and we cut off the roots of those who denied our signs and were not believers. Verse 48, and to Thamud we sent their brother Salih. He said, O my people, worship Allah. You have no deity other than him. There has come to you a clear sign from your Lord. This is the she-camel of Allah sent to you as a sign. So leave her to eat within Allah's land, and do not touch her with harm, lest there seize you a painful punishment. Verse 49. And remember when he made you successors after Ad and settled you in the land, and you take for yourselves palaces from its plains and carve from the mountains homes. Then remember the favors of Allah, and do not commit abuse on the earth, spreading corruption. Verse 50. Said the eminent ones who were arrogant among his people to those who were oppressed, to those who believed among them, do you actually know that Sally is sent from his Lord? They said, Indeed we, in that with which he was sent, are believers. Verse 51. Those who were arrogant said, Indeed we, in that which you have believed, are disbelievers. Verse 52. So they hamstrung the she-camel and were insolent toward the command of their Lord and said, O Salah, bring us what you promise us if you should be of the messengers. Verse 53. So the earthquake seized them, and they became within their home corpses, fallen prone. Verse 54. And he turned away from them and said, O my people, I had certainly conveyed to you the message of my Lord and advised you, but you do not like advisers. Verse 55. And we sent Lot when he said to his people, Do you commit such immorality as no one has preceded you with from among the worlds? Verse 56. Indeed, you approach men with desire instead of women. Rather, you are a transgressing people. Verse 57. But the answer of his people was only that they said, Evict them from your city. Indeed, they are men who keep themselves pure. Verse 58. So we saved him and his family, except for his wife. We destined her to be of those who remained behind. Verse 59. And we rained upon them a rain of stones. Then see how was the end of the criminals. Verse 60. And to Midian, we sent their brother Shu'aib. He said, O my people, worship Allah. You have no deity other than him, and do not decrease from the measure and the scale. Indeed, I see you in prosperity, but indeed I fear for you the punishment of an all-encompassing day. Verse 61. O my people, give full measure and weight in justice, and do not deprive the people of their due, and do not commit abuse on the earth, spreading corruption. Verse 62. What remains lawful from Allah is best for you, if you would be believers, but I am not a guardian over you. Verse 63. They said, O Shu'aib, does your prayer command you that we should leave what our fathers worship or not do with our wealth what we please? Indeed, you are the forbearing, the discerning. Verse 64, he said, O my people, have you considered, if I am upon clear evidence from my Lord, and he has provided me with a good provision from him, and I do not intend to differ from you in that which I have forbidden you, I only intend reform as much as I am able, and my success is not but through Allah. Upon him I have relied, and to him I return. Verse 65. And O my people, let not your dissension from me cause you to be struck by that similar to what struck the people of Noah, or the people of Hud, or the people of Salih, and the people of Lot are not far from you. Verse 66. And ask forgiveness of your Lord and then repent to him. Indeed, my Lord is merciful and affectionate. Verse 67. They said, O Shu'aib, we do not understand much of what you say, and indeed we consider you among us as weak. And if not for your family, we would have stoned you to death, and you are not to us one respected. Verse 68. He said, O my people, is my family more respected to you than Allah? And you have taken him behind your backs in neglect. Indeed, my Lord is encompassing of what you do. Verse 69. And O my people, work according to your position. Indeed, I am working. You are going to know to whom will come a punishment that will disgrace him and who is a liar. So watch. Indeed, I am with you, watching. Verse 70. And when our command came, we saved Shu'aib and those who believed with him by mercy from us. And the shriek seized those who had wronged, and they became within their homes, corpses fallen prone, verse 71, as if they had never prospered therein. Then, away with Midian as Thamud was taken away. Verse 72. And we had certainly sent Moses with our signs and a clear authority, verse 73, to Pharaoh and his establishment, but they followed the command of Pharaoh, and the command of Pharaoh was not at all discerning. Verse 74, he will precede his people on the day of resurrection and lead them into the fire, and wretched is the place to which they are led. Verse 75, and they were followed in this world with a curse and on the day of resurrection, and wretched is the gift which will be given. Verse 76, that is from the news of the cities, which we relate to you. Of them, some are still standing, and some are as a harvest mowed down. Verse 77, and we did not wrong them, but they wronged themselves, and they were not availed at all. By their gods which they invoked other than Allah, when there came the command of your Lord, and they did not increase them in other than ruin. Verse 78, and thus is the seizure of your Lord when he seizes the cities while they are wrongdoing. Indeed, his seizure is painful and severe. Verse 79, indeed, in that is a sign for those who fear the punishment of the hereafter. That is a day for which the people will be collected, and that is a day which will be witnessed. Verse 80, and we do not delay it except for a limited term. Verse 81, the day it comes, no soul will speak except by his permission, and among them will be the wretched and the prosperous. Verse 82, as for those who were destined to be wretched, they will be in the fire. For them therein is violent exhaling and inhaling. Verse 83, they will be abiding therein as long as the heavens and the earth endure, except what your Lord should will. Indeed, your Lord is an effector of what he intends. Verse 84, and as for those who were destined to be prosperous, they will be in paradise, abiding therein as long as the heavens and the earth endure, except what your Lord should will, a bestowal uninterrupted. Verse 85, so do not be in doubt, O Muhammad, as to what these polytheists worship. They worship not except as their fathers worshipped before. And indeed, we will give them their share undiminished. Verse 86, and we had certainly given Moses the scripture, but it came under disagreement. And if not for a word that proceeded from your Lord, it would have been concluded between them. And indeed, they are in doubt, disquieting about it. Verse, and indeed your Lord will fully compensate them for their deeds. Indeed, he is acquainted with what they do. Verse 88, so remain on a right course as you have been commanded, you and those who have turned back with you to Allah, and do not transgress. Indeed, he is seeing of what you do. Verse 89, and do not incline toward those who do wrong, lest you be touched by the fire, and you would not have other than Allah any protectors, then you would not be helped. Verse 90, and establish prayer at the two ends of the day, and at the approach of the night. Indeed, good deeds do away with misdeeds. That is a reminder for those who remember. Verse 91, and be patient, O Muhammad, for the decision of your Lord, for indeed you are in our eyes. And exalt Allah with praise of your Lord when you arise. Verse 92, and in a part of the night exalt him, and after the setting of the stars. Verse 93, and indeed your Lord will give you good so that you will be satisfied. Verse 94, did he not find you an orphan and give you refuge? Verse 95, and he found you lost and guided you. Verse 96, and he found you poor and made you self-sufficient. Verse 97, so as for the orphan, do not oppress him. Verse 98, and as for the petitioner, do not repel him. Verse 99, but as for the favor of your Lord, report it. Verse 100, and as for the orphan, do not oppress him. Verse 101, and as for the petitioner, do not repel him. Verse 102, but as for the favor of your Lord, report it. Verse 103, and as for the orphan, do not oppress him. Verse 104, and as for the petitioner, do not repel him. Verse 105, but as for the favor of your Lord, report it. Verse 106, and as for the orphan, do not oppress him. Verse 107, and as for the petitioner, do not repel him. Verse 108, he will say, "Remain despised therein and do not speak to me." Verse 109, indeed, there was a party of my servants who said, "Our Lord, we have believed, so forgive us and have mercy upon us, and you are the best of the merciful." Verse 110, but you took them in mockery to the point that they made you forget my remembrance, and you used to laugh at them. Verse 111, indeed, I have rewarded them this day for their patient endurance, that they are the attainers of success. Verse 112, Allah will say, "How long did you remain on earth in number of years?" Verse 113, they will say, "We remained a day or part of a day. Ask those who enumerate." Verse 114, he will say, "You stayed not but a little, if only you had known." Verse 115, then did you think that we created you uselessly and that to us you would not be returned? Verse 116, so exalted is Allah, the Sovereign, the Truth. There is no deity except Him, Lord of the noble throne. Verse 117, and whoever invokes besides Allah another deity for which he has no proof, then his account is only with his Lord. Indeed, the disbelievers will not succeed. Verse 118, and O Muhammad say, "My Lord, forgive and have mercy, and you are the best of the merciful." This concludes chapter 23 of Holy Quran. In the name of Allah, the most gracious, the most merciful. Surah An-Nur, which means the light. Chapter 24, verse 1 to 64, verse 1. This is a surah which we have sent down and made its verses obligatory, and revealed therein verses of clear evidence that you might remember. Verse 2. The unmarried woman or unmarried man found guilty of sexual intercourse, lash each one of them with 100 lashes, and do not be taken by pity for them in the religion of Allah, if you should believe in Allah and the last day. And let a group of the believers witness their punishment. Verse 3. The fornicator does not marry except a female fornicator or polytheist, and none marries her except a fornicator or a polytheist, and that has been made unlawful to the believers. Verse 4. And those who accuse chaste women and then do not produce 4 witnesses, lash them with 80 lashes and do not accept from them testimony ever after. And those are the defiantly disobedient. Verse 5. Except for those who repent thereafter, and reform, for indeed Allah is forgiving and merciful. Verse 6. And those who accuse their wives of adultery and have no witnesses except themselves, then the witness of one of them shall be 4 testimonies swearing by Allah that indeed he is of the truthful. Verse 7. And the 5th oath will be that the curse of Allah be upon him if he should be among the liars. Verse 8. But it will prevent punishment from her if she gives 4 testimonies, swearing by Allah that indeed he is of the liars. Verse 9. And the 5th oath will be that the wrath of Allah be upon her if he was of the truthful. Verse 10. And if not for the favor of Allah upon you and his mercy. And because Allah is accepting of repentance and wise. Verse 11. Indeed, those who came with falsehood are a group among you. Do not think it bad for you, rather it is good for you. For every person among them is what punishment he has earned from the sin, and he who took upon himself the greater portion thereof, for him is a great punishment. Verse 12. Why, when you heard it, did not the believing men and believing women think good of one another and say, "This is an obvious falsehood"? Verse 13. Why did they not produce for it 4 witnesses? And when they do not produce the witnesses, then it is they in the sight of Allah who are the liars. Verse 14. And if it had not been for the favor of Allah upon you and his mercy in this world and the hereafter, you would have been touched for that lie, in which you were involved by a great punishment. Verse 15. When you received it with your tongues and said with your mouths that of which you had no knowledge, and thought it was insignificant while it was, in the sight of Allah, tremendous. Verse 16. And why, when you heard it, did you not say, "It is not for us to speak of this"? Exalted are you, O Allah. This is a great slander. Verse 17. Allah warns you against returning to the likes of this conduct, ever, if you should be believers. Verse 18. And Allah makes clear to you the verses, and Allah is knowing and wise. Verse 19. Indeed, those who like that immorality should be spread or publicized among those who have believed will have a painful punishment in this world and the hereafter. And Allah knows and you do not know. Verse 20. And if it had not been for the favor of Allah upon you and His mercy, and because Allah is kind and merciful. Verse 21. O you who have believed, do not follow the footsteps of Satan, and whoever follows the footsteps of Satan, indeed he enjoins immorality and wrongdoing. And if not for the favor of Allah upon you and His mercy, not one of you would have been pure, ever. But Allah purifies whom He wills, and Allah is hearing and knowing. Verse 22. And let not those of virtue among you and wealth swear not to give aid to their relatives and the needy and the emigrants for the cause of Allah, and let them pardon and overlook. Would you not like that Allah should forgive you, and Allah is forgiving and merciful? Verse 23. Indeed, those who falsely accuse chaste, unaware, and believing women are cursed in this world and the hereafter, and they will have a great punishment. Verse 24. On a day when their tongues, their hands, and their feet will bear witness against them as to what they used to do. Verse 25. That day, Allah will pay them in full their deserved recompense, and they will know that Allah is the manifest truth. Verse 26. Evil words are for evil men, and evil men are subjected to evil words. And good words are for good men, and good men are an object of good words. Those good people are declared innocent of what they, the evil people, say. For them is forgiveness and noble provision. Verse 27. O, you who have believed, do not enter houses other than your own houses until you ascertain welcome and greet their inhabitants. That is best for you. Perhaps you will be reminded. Verse 28. And if you do not find anyone therein, do not enter them until permission has been given you. And if it is said to you, go back, then go back. It is purer for you. And Allah is knowing of what you do. Verse 29. There is no blame upon you for entering houses not inhabited in which there is convenience for you. And Allah knows what you reveal and what you conceal. Verse 30. Tell the believing men to reduce some of their vision and guard their private parts. That is purer for them. Indeed, Allah is acquainted with what they do. Verse 31. And tell the believing women to reduce some of their vision and guard their private parts and not expose their adornment, except that which necessarily appears thereof, and to wrap a portion of their head covers over their chests, and not expose their adornment except to their husbands, their fathers, their husbands' fathers, their sons, their husbands' sons, their brothers' sons, their sisters' sons, their women, that which their right hands possess, or those male attendants having no physical desire, or children who are not yet aware of the private aspects of women. And let them not stamp their feet to make known what they conceal of their adornment. And turn to Allah in repentance, all of you, O believers, that you might succeed. Verse 32. And marry the unmarried among you and the righteous among your male slaves and female slaves. If they should be poor, Allah will enrich them from His bounty, and Allah is all-encompassing and knowing. Verse 33. But let them who find not the means for marriage abstain from sexual relations, until Allah enriches them from His bounty. And those who seek a contract for eventual emancipation, from among whom your right hands possess, then make a contract with them if you know there is within them goodness, and give them from the wealth of Allah which He has given you. And do not compel your slave girls to prostitution if they desire chastity, to seek thereby the temporary interests of worldly life. And if someone should compel them, then indeed Allah is to them, after their compulsion, forgiving and merciful. Verse 34. And we have certainly sent down to you distinct verses and examples from those who passed on before you, and an admonition for those who fear Allah. Verse 35. Allah is the light of the heavens and the earth. The example of His light is like a niche within which is a lamp. The lamp is within glass, the glass as if it were a pearly white star, lit from the oil of a blessed olive tree, neither of the east nor of the west, whose oil would almost glow even if untouched by fire. Light upon light. Allah guides to His light whom He wills, and Allah presents examples for the people, and Allah is knowing of all things. Verse 36. Such nikahs are in houses, i.e., mosques, which Allah has ordered to be raised, and that His name be mentioned therein, exalting Him within them in the morning and the evenings. Verse 37. Are men whom neither commerce nor sale distracts from the remembrance of Allah and performance of prayer and giving of zakah. They fear a day in which the hearts and eyes will fearfully turn about. Verse 38, that Allah may reward them according to the best of what they did and increase them from His bounty. And Allah gives provision to whom He wills without account. Verse 39, but those who disbelieved, their deeds are like a mirage in a lowland, which a thirsty one thinks is water, until when he comes to it, he finds it is nothing but finds Allah before him, and He will pay him in full his due, and Allah is swift in account. Verse 40, or they are like darknesses within an unfathomable sea which is covered by waves, upon which are waves, over which are clouds, darknesses, some of them upon others. When one puts out his hand therein, he can hardly see it. And he, to whom Allah has not granted light, for him there is no light. Verse 41, do you not see that Allah is exalted by whomever is within the heavens and the earth, and by the birds with wings spread in flight? Each of them has known his means of prayer and exalting Him, and Allah is knowing of what they do. Verse 42, and to Allah belongs the dominion of the heavens and the earth, and to Allah is the destination. Verse 43, do you not see that Allah drives clouds? Then He brings them together, then He makes them into a mass, and you see the rain emerge from within it. And He sends down from the sky mountains of clouds within which is hail, and He strikes with it whom He wills and averts it from whom He wills. The flash of its lightning almost takes away the eyesight. Verse 44, Allah alternates the night and the day. Indeed, in that is a lesson for those who have vision. Verse 45, Allah has created every living creature from water, and of them are those that move on their bellies, and of them are those that walk on 2 legs, and of them are those that walk on 4. Allah creates what He wills. Indeed, Allah is over all things competent. Verse 46, we have certainly sent down distinct verses, and Allah guides whom He wills to a straight path. Verse 47, but they say, we have believed in Allah and in the Messenger, and we obey. Then a party of them turns away after that, and those are not believers. Verse 48, and when they are called to Allah and His Messenger to judge between them, at once a party of them turns aside in refusal. Verse 49, but if the right is theirs, they come to Him in prompt obedience. Verse 50s, their disease in their hearts? Or have they doubted? Or do they fear that Allah will be unjust to them and His Messenger? Rather, it is they who are the wrongdoers. Verse 51, the only statement of the true believers when they are called to Allah and His Messenger to judge between them is that they say, we hear and we obey, and those are the successful. Verse 52, and whoever obeys Allah and His Messenger, and fears Allah and is conscious of Him, it is those who are the attainers of success. Verse 53, and they swear by Allah their strongest oaths that if you ordered them, they would go forth in Allah's cause. Say, do not swear. Such obedience is known. Indeed, Allah is acquainted with that which you do. Verse 54, say, obey Allah, and obey the Messenger. But if you turn away, then upon him is only that duty with which he has been charged, and upon you is that with which you have been charged. And if you obey him, you will be rightly guided. And there is not upon the messenger except the responsibility for clear notification. Verse 55, Allah has promised those who have believed among you and done righteous deeds that He will surely grant them succession to authority upon the earth, just as He granted it to those before them, and that He will surely establish for them their religion which He has approved for them, and that He will surely substitute for them, after their fear, security, for they worship Me, not associating anything with Me. But whoever disbelieves after that, then those are the defiantly disobedient. Verse 56. And establish prayer and give zakah and obey the messenger, that you may receive mercy. Verse 57. Never think that the disbelievers are causing failure to Allah upon the earth. Their refuge will be the fire, and how wretched the destination. Verse 58. O you who have believed, let those whom your right hands possess and those who have not yet reached puberty among you ask permission of you before entering at 3 times, before the dawn prayer, and when you put aside your clothing for rest at noon, and after the night prayer. These are 3 times of privacy for you. There is no blame upon you nor upon them beyond these periods, for they continually circulate among you, some of you among others. Thus does Allah make clear to you the verses, and Allah is knowing and wise. Verse 59. And when the children among you reach puberty, let them ask permission at all times, as those before them have done. Thus does Allah make clear to you His verses, and Allah is knowing and wise. Verse 60. And women of post-menstrual age, who have no desire for marriage, there is no blame upon them for putting aside their outer garments, but not displaying adornment. But to modestly refrain from that is better for them. And Allah is hearing and knowing. Verse 61. There is no blame upon the blind, nor is there blame upon the lame, nor is there blame upon the sick, nor on yourselves if you eat from your houses, or the houses of your fathers, or the houses of your mothers, or the houses of your brothers, or the houses of your sisters, or the houses of your father's brothers, or the houses of your father's sisters, or the houses of your mother's brothers, or the houses of your mother's sisters, or from houses whose keys you possess, or from the house of your friend. There is no blame upon you whether you eat together or separately. But when you enter houses, give greetings of peace upon each other, a greeting from Allah, blessed and good. Thus does Allah make clear to you the verses of ordinance that you may understand. Verse 62. The believers are only those who have believed in Allah and His Messenger, and when they are with Him for a matter of common interest, do not depart until they have asked His permission. Indeed, those who ask your permission, those are the ones who believe in Allah and His Messenger. So when they ask your permission for something of their affairs, then give permission to whom you will among them, and ask forgiveness for them from Allah. Indeed, Allah is forgiving and merciful. Verse 63. Do not make your calling of the messenger among yourselves as the call of one of you to another. Already Allah knows those of you who slip away, concealed by others. So let those beware who oppose His order, lest fitness strike them or a painful punishment. Verse 64. Unquestionably, to Allah belongs whatever is in the heavens and the earth. Already He knows that upon which you stand, and the day when they will be returned to Him, He will inform them of what they have done. And Allah is knowing of all things. This concludes chapter 24 of Holy Quran. In the name of Allah, the most gracious, the most merciful. Surah Al-Furqan, chapter 25, verse 1 to 20. Verse 1. Blessed is he who sent down the criterion upon his servant, that he may be to the worlds a warner. Verse 2. He to whom belongs the dominion of the heavens and the earth, and who has not taken a son, and has not had a partner in dominion, and has created each thing and determined it with precise determination. Verse 1. Blessed is he who sent down the criterion, Quran, to his servant, that it may be a warning to the world. Verse 2. He to whom belongs the dominion of the heavens and the earth, who has no son, and has no partner in his dominion, and has created everything, and has measured it out precisely. Verse 3. Yet they have taken besides him gods who create nothing but are themselves created. They have no power to harm or benefit themselves, nor do they have power over life, death, or resurrection. Verse 4. And those who disbelieve say, This, Quran, is nothing but a forgery that he, Muhammad, has invented, and others have helped him with it. Indeed, they have brought injustice and falsehood. Verse 5. And they say, legends of the former peoples, which he has had written down, and they are dictated to him morning and afternoon. Verse 6. Say, it has been sent down by him who knows the secrets of the heavens and the earth. Indeed, he is ever forgiving and merciful. Verse 7. And they say, why does this messenger eat food and walk in the marketplaces? Why has no angel been sent down to him to be a warner with him? Verse 8. Or, why is not a treasure cast down to him? Or why does he not have a garden to eat from? And the wrongdoers say, you follow but a man bewitched. Verse 9. See how they present examples for you, but they have gone astray, so they cannot find a way. Verse 10. Blessed is he who, if he wills, can grant you something better than that. Gardens beneath which rivers flow, and he can give you palaces. Verse 11. But they have denied the hour, and we have prepared a blazing fire for those who deny the hour. Verse 12. When it sees them from a distant place, they will hear its raging and roaring. Verse 13. And when they are thrown into a narrow place therein, bound in chains, they will cry out thereupon for destruction. Verse 14. It will be said, do not cry this day for one destruction, but cry for much destruction. Verse 15. Say, is that fire better, or the garden of eternity which is promised to the righteous? It will be for them a reward and destination. Verse 16. For them therein is whatever they wish, while abiding eternally. It is ever upon your Lord a promise requested. Verse 17. And mention the day he will gather them and that which they worship besides Allah, and will say, did you mislead these my servants, or did they themselves stray from the way? Verse 18. They will say, exalted are you. It was not for us to take besides you any allies, but you provided comforts for them and their fathers, until they forgot the message and became a people ruined. Verse 19. So they will deny you in ye what you say, and you cannot avert punishment or find help. And whoever commits injustice among you, we will make him taste a great punishment. Verse 20. And we did not send before you, O Muhammad, any of the messengers except that they ate food and walked in the marketplaces. And we have made some of you people as a trial for others. Will you have patience? And your Lord is ever seeing. This concludes Juz 18. See you all in our next video, inshaAllah.
Search Serene for Kids on YouTube and subscribe.